Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm gonna chat with you just real quick about a huge security issue that came out this week. I've been in IT for over a decade now, and I own my own IT business. So I've seen a lot of different vulnerabilities over the years, but this is probably the biggest one that I've ever seen, and it's related to the hardware inside your computer, the CPU specifically, and I'm sure probably everyone's heard about it now. It's the Meltdown Spectre um, vulnerabilities that were basically just discovered. Actually, they were discovered last year, about 6 months ago. And basically everyone in the industry, the tech side of things, specifically Intel, is the big manufacturer that has every single chip that they've made since the 1990s, the mid 90s, has been compromised. So basically it's a massive, massive flaw in the hardware architecture. So anyway, I'm not going to get too technical on this whole thing, but the reason it's so important to us is that we're all in the crypto space, and we all realize that your private keys are essentially you're responsible for them, and if anyone else has them, all your funds are completely gone. So this vulnerability, because it affects literally every single computer and every single mobile device out there in the wild, is it just comes right back around to the fact that any computer can and eventually will be compromised. So when you're talking crypto and protecting your private keys, it's absolutely essential that you take steps to learn how best to protect them, and then follow through and actually protect that. So what I'm going to do here real quick is just kind of cover the vulnerability, why and how it works, and why anyone in crypto needs to be basically have a hardware wallet that they're storing their crypto funds on. So on this first page here, the register actually leaked this back on January 4th. So yesterday, this leak came out and basically outed the fact that Intel's chips have, which are in about 90% of every single computer out there in the world today, have a huge vulnerability that allows basically untrusted code to read any kind of data that's stored in your system memory. So every computer, every device that you use has storage that's long-term storage called a hard drive or a solid-state drive. And then they also have, hold on, I got trains coming. Alright, so they also have what's called memory or short-term storage, and that's called RAM or memory, and this is where anytime you launch an application or anytime you do anything on your computer, basically what happens is the data that's needed to run the application is stored and processed in the RAM, the short-term memory, because it's way faster than reading it and actually running any kind of program from your hard drive. So this vulnerability, what happens is that any process that's running on that CPU can actually read or look at what's in that RAM where it shouldn't be able to. So when we're talking RAM, we're saying, hey, you're trying to open your wallet and you're copying and pasting your private key to do so, right? The second you hit copy, that key is stored in the system memory, and that memory is now visible to anyone that has access to your computer. So let's say you're sitting on a website and that website is malicious, and it now has the code to actually just look at your memory and everything that you're doing. You don't have to do anything on the website. All you had to do is just go to it. And just the mere fact that you're on that website, it can now see everything that's happening within your system memory, which means everything that you're doing on your computer. So that's why this is such a huge, massive vulnerability. It's just staggering, the consequences of this. It's really starting to, basically everyone in the tech world is scrambling to get this fixed, but there's not even really much that we can do at this point. We're still waiting on patches from Microsoft has released some patches, but specifically Intel needs to release some firmware before this is even close to starting to get fixed, and even the fixes are going to end up having repercussions in the form of slowing down your computer and that kind of thing. So anyway, again, I don't want to get too technical, but what you need to know is that it's a massive vulnerability, and you can pretty much just take the stance that anything you do on your computer, as far as copying, pasting, doing anything, typing in anything, is basically now can be seen if someone has the right code running on their website or any other place where you're basically on the internet or doing something where you're interacting with an application. So just to show you what that looks like, so I'll put the links to all this stuff down so you can read up on it more, and I recommend that you do. But here is a demonstration of what a meltdown attack looks like. So this guy basically entered the simple command that let him read memory and then opened up a password manager. So he initiated the attack, goes up to password, and you can see exactly what he's typing in is visible in the terminal. So this could be a website, this could be anything running this short little script of code that then can see everything that you're typing, everything that you're copying, pasting, anything that you're doing. So you can imagine now, if you're going to an exchange and trying to do anything, or if you're doing any of your wallets and doing private keys, things like that, all of that info, if any of those sites are compromised, you basically, whoever has that injection can just see exactly what's being copied and pasted and shared in any of that. So it's a massive, massive vulnerability. So so again, this comes back to the fact and why it's so important. If you're in crypto already, you've already heard of hardware wallets and that you should be using them. And this is just a perfect example of why. So basically, by using a hardware wallet, you're removing this vulnerability and securing all of your crypto so it's not vulnerable to attacks like this. And why is that? It's because the hardware wallet basically is its own self-contained device, and it's not vulnerable to this type of a hack. So Trezor and Ledger are the two big hardware wallets and manufacturers. So they both came out and said, as we all know, that the hardware wallets are not vulnerable to Spectre attacks or Meltdown attacks for that matter. Both CEOs for both companies came out and stated it, and the reason that they're not is the very reason you want a hardware wallet is because it doesn't need to expose your private keys at all. So what happens with a hardware wallet is you're using it, you're plugging it into USB or into your computer, but the actual hardware wallet acts as an in-between, so that whenever you're wanting to do something, your private keys are safe on that little hardware wallet, but your transactions and things that you're wanting to execute from your wallet, like you want to send Bitcoin, then the Bitcoin wallet that's running on your computer asks the hardware wallet, hey, is it okay if I send this Bitcoin? And then on the actual hardware wallet, you have to say yes or no. So you're doing that on the actual hardware wallet, not on your computer. And so that private key is never exposed to your computer, and therefore all your funds are safe on that hardware wallet. So again, this is why it's so important to make sure that if you have any amount of funds in crypto, just get yourself a hardware wallet and make sure that you're storing your funds there. That way you're removing the vulnerability and the chance of losing all those funds. So anyway, there's a great article here on how to protect yourself from these two big flaws. Like I said, they're basically impacting every single computer and mobile device at this point. There's not a lot that you can do right now. Basically, you're going to need to keep your Windows PC up to date, and as these fixes roll out over the next couple weeks, make sure you stay on top of that. But again, this is a massive leak and vulnerability, and it's going to have repercussions down the road, especially for those that don't actually update or take care of patching when it actually is available. So the last thing I'll mention is that, like I said, get yourself a hardware wallet. If you're in crypto, the Ledger Nano S, I have one. It's amazing. I love it. It's great. There's also the Trezor line, and KeepSafe, I believe, has a line as well. But it doesn't matter what you choose. Again, like anything in crypto, do your research and find one that fits you and what you need. But definitely get yourself a hardware wallet. So if you have any questions or anything about this kind of stuff, just let me know. I just wanted to again stress how important it is that, especially right now, because all of the exchanges, almost every website that you visit actually runs on basically a server farm. So either in Microsoft, just imagine a massive building with thousands of servers with row upon row of servers running, right? And what this vulnerability does is basically allows any attacker to rent up a server on one of those machines, and then if that machine hasn't been patched, they can just see what's running on any of the other servers on there. So you can imagine, the kind of stuff that anyone that wanted to expose this kind of vulnerability could do, and it's pretty widespread. So good news is that all the big boys are already on top of it. They're trying to patch and get this stuff fixed as fast as they can before these kind of vulnerabilities start happening. But as is the case always in the IT side of things, there's always people that don't update, that don't patch, that end up down the road really paying a big price for this kind of stuff. So anyway, I just want to again stress, if you take anything out of this talk, I'm sure some of you had your eyes glazed over at some point, but get yourself a hardware wallet if you're in crypto, and you're going to be far more safer, and you can sleep a lot better knowing that you're not worrying about whether your funds are going to get stolen or not. So anyway, everyone, if you have any questions, let me know, and other than that, I'm out. Take care.